So the last 2 weeks of NXT have been really meh, in my opinion, and really haven't gone up to the standards of what I generally expected from NXT shows week by week. But this week's show I thought was actually pretty good. I thought it encapsulated the essence of what I enjoy about NXT the most. We've got some good characters showcased on this show. We have some pretty good in-ring action and matches in this show. And more importantly, we have some pretty good storyline advancement going into further shows and good feud advancement as well. So leave me your thoughts on this NXT show down in the comments section below. Oh, and by the way, the link to the show will also be linked in the description box below. And also, did you notice who was on commentary on this show? That's right, guys. It was none other than the new Raw General Manager himself, Brad Maddox. I love the fact that they're now actually blowing bubbles into the NXT arena whenever Emma makes her entrance now. And Summer Rae versus Emma was the opening match of the night in the NXT Women's Championship Tournament semi-final. We saw last week that Paige went through, and I really expected Summer Rae to win this match. And even though the match was just kind of meh and didn't really get all that much time, I was actually really surprised that Emma won this match. I was really sure it was going to be Paige versus Summer Rae, and they were going to revisit that really good feud that Paige and Summer Rae had a couple of months ago. So, I mean, I was actually legitimately surprised here. You had Summer Rae trying to beat down on Emma after the match, and then Paige kind of come in and save the day, and that leads us to the stare down between the two people that are going to be in the final. It's quite interesting, isn't it, though? You've got Emma versus Paige in the final of this NXT Women's Championship Tournament, and they're the two most over divas on the roster, so it does kind of make sense to have those in the final. I would have liked Emma or Summer Rae in the final, to be honest, but imagine the crowd fights that are going to be going on with people cheering for Paige and people cheering for Emma. That should be a pretty hot crowd for that final match, and I do wonder when this match is going to be. I know it's not going to be next week. Are they going to have a contract signing segment, maybe a promo segment or two? I guess we'll see in these coming weeks, but I think NXT should maybe give this one more segment just to hype this match up going into future, because I am really looking forward to seeing this final, even though I kind of know who's going to win. So last week we saw a little confrontation in the main event segment between Cesaro and Leo Kruger and Bo Dallas and Sami Zayn, and this actually continued onwards. This week we had Sami Zayn versus Leo Kruger, kind of combining two feuds here. Sami Zayn versus Leo Kruger. The Ole chants were really prevalent throughout this match. A lot of smart fans, I guess, were at Full Sail University for this taping. And this was quite a brutal match. I mean, there were a couple of points in this match where it looked like they both kind of hurt each other a lot and kind of hit their head quite hard on the canvas at some points. But this was a very back and forth match with plenty of kickouts, and it went about 10 minutes. And, you know, it was a pretty good piece of in-ring action. And I don't know what it is about Sami Zayn, but even though I feel his character is quite bland, I find myself rather drawn to the character. I really want to get behind the character, whether or not it's because I know he was El Generico in ROH, and I really want to get behind that character as I did like El Generico. Whether or not it's because I want Sami Zayn to succeed, I don't know. But there's something about the Sami Zayn character right now that is making me care, which there are quite a lot of characters in the WWE really do not make me do right now. Maybe it's because it's more of a new character. I don't know, I'm just saying. And Leo Kruger gets the win here after targeting the arm various times throughout the match and making Sami Zayn submit with an arm submission, which was pretty good psychology there, especially by the Hunter gimmick that is Leo Kruger right now. And to be honest with you, it didn't really matter to me who won this match because it was a very competitive match, and whoever lost still looked pretty good in defeat because the match was really good and both guys looked pretty good in this match. So I thought this was quite well done by NXT, and it gave a guy a clean victory, but the other guy didn't look bad in defeat in Sami Zayn either. And right now, Sami Zayn is one of the fastest rising characters on NXT. I really do care about him. This kind of led to an announcement later on in the evening that there was going to be a #1 contendership match next week to Bo Dallas's NXT Championship. You've got Leo Kruger versus Sami Zayn versus Antonio Cesaro. These guys have all been involved with each other for a couple of weeks now, so this does make some sense, and it should be a pretty damn good main event match next week. I mean, if you would encounter what these two have done, Sami Zayn versus Leo Kruger, Sami Zayn and Antonio Cesaro, put all that in one pot, it should be a pretty damn good triple threat match, #1 contendership match in my opinion next week. So the big news on the NXT front this week is that WWE have just opened their WWE Performance Center, and I've watched a couple of interviews with Triple H and I've watched the tour around the place, and it looks pretty high-tech. It looks pretty good. It seems like WWE are really stepping up their developmental training, which is very necessary, in my opinion, in a company where they desperately need to try and make some new stars. And it seems like even if the talent may not be there, which may be true, that at least WWE know that they are trying to step up the equipment, they're trying to step up what they can actually do and the amount they can actually do with the talent in terms of in-ring work, in terms of promos, in terms of character development, in terms of training, etc. So this is a very big deal for the WWE, as you can tell. And I feel this will really aid NXT and the development of young stars, which is one of the biggest things right now that I'm interested in WWE, which is why I review the NXT shows every week for you guys. For the second week in a row, Enzo Amore just was hilarious. Who else just thinks that this guy, Enzo Amore, is so hilarious and is way, way better than Heath Slater ever was for 3MB? Mason Ryan versus Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy in a 2-on-1 handicap match. The crowd really didn't seem to care about this match, but it was just Colin Cassidy gets a pin on Mason Ryan. It was quite surprising. I thought Mason Ryan would squash them, and I guess if they were going to continue this feud onwards and allow Enzo Amore to keep being hilarious on the mic, I'm guessing they really should have got a win over Mason Ryan. I expect Mason Ryan to squash them both at some point in the future, though. But while this feud to some may be pretty shitty, I'm just trying to find the positive in the fact that Enzo Amore, the character right now, is just hilarious. It really is. I think this week's show provided some very good build for next week's show. We got the announcement of the #1 contendership match during the show. We got the announcement also of Bo Dallas versus Scott Dawson, who is one of Sylvester Lafort's protégés, motherfucker, which I'm guessing will be the opener of the show. We also got the announcement that Charlotte Flair, who is Ric Flair's daughter, is actually going to debut on the show. They had a little backstage segment with Dusty Rhodes limping and pimping backstage with the nervous Bayley starstruck character, which they're trying to work on. And it's going to be Bayley versus Charlotte Flair next week. That'll be interesting to see if Charlotte Flair actually has what her daddy has. And it's a new addition to the Divas division. We'll see how well she does next week. But next week, we've got some stuff hyped up. Like I said, we've got Bo Dallas in action. We've got the #1 contendership match. And we've got the debut of Charlotte Flair. So next week's show should at least be pretty decent, I feel. And then we get to our main event segment of the evening. It was Adrian Neville and Corey Graves and William Regal versus the Wyatt family. This was hyped. This has been hyped up for a couple of weeks now, with Cassius Ohno being taken out by the Wyatt family, and Adrian Neville and Corey Graves trying to enlist William Regal to help them take out the Wyatt family. All I can really say about this main event segment is that I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this main event match. I don't know why. I just found myself very into this match. Maybe it's because of the one-off appearance by William Regal. Maybe it's because I'm a massive, massive fan of the Wyatt family and they've just debuted on Raw, which I loved. But also what I liked about this is that Bray Wyatt got a clean pin on Regal. There was no cheating. There was no double-crossing. It was just Bray Wyatt hitting his finisher on an old star like William Regal and getting a clean pin. And that is definitely how it should be when it comes to putting over talent like Bray Wyatt, who they're probably going to push to the moon when they get put on Raw. And once again, as per usual, because they're probably the best thing on NXT right now, the Wyatt family end the show on top. That's right, a heel faction ending most of their shows on top, which is exactly what WWE or any company needs to do to establish any kind of heel faction that they're trying to make some new stars out of. As I said at the beginning of this review, I thought this NXT show was pretty good and more up to the standards that I expect from NXT. Sami Zayn and Leo Kruger had a pretty good match. The main event match I thoroughly enjoyed. They did a decent job of hyping up next week and gave us 3 segments that we could sort of look forward to, but the #1 contendership match next week should be pretty good. So overall, I felt this show accomplished quite a lot. We've got the final setup for the Women's Championship now, the NXT Women's Championship, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. So this, in my opinion, all equates to being a good show. Some good wrestling, some good characters, some good booking, and just a generally, in my opinion, no frill, no spills, entertaining hour of wrestling. So give me your thoughts on this NXT show down in the comment section below. And I have been Mr. Parkin on behalf of the British Fist. Thank you very much for watching this review, guys, and a very good night and a good weekend to you all.